The sun was setting over the city skyline when a tiny voice called out to the busy Millionaire CEO rushing through the park. "Here's $50. I just need a dad for one day," said a little girl, her big eyes filled with hope and a hint of sadness. He froze, clutching his briefcase, unsure if he had heard her right. A child offering money for something no one should have to buy it didn't make sense. But there she was, standing there with innocence in her hands and courage in her heart. The CEO, used to controlling boardrooms and billion-dollar deals, suddenly felt completely powerless. This little girl, with her messy hair and worn shoes, had somehow unsettled him in a way no business challenge ever had. Who was she, and why did she need a dad for just one day? The question lingered, pressing on his conscience, as he looked down at the crumpled bill in her tiny hand. In that moment, a choice had to be made. Should he walk away and return to his structured life of meetings and power, or step into a world he had never known, a world of laughter, trust, and a chance at something more meaningful? The answer was about to change both their lives forever. But would he take the leap? The CEO hesitated, staring at the girl as if she were a puzzle he couldn't solve. In all his years of success, he had never faced a situation like this. His world was filled with contracts, board meetings, and luxury, but never with small hands reaching out for something as simple and as human as attention and care. The little girl's eyes didn't beg for charity. They asked for connection, something money could never buy. As he knelt down to her level, he noticed the worn backpack she carried. It had stickers peeling off and a small patch sewn over a tear, hinting at a life far from easy. The girl didn't speak more, just held out the $50 bill, waiting for an answer. The city around them blurred honking cars, busy pedestrians, but for a moment, nothing else mattered. He wondered how she had ended up here, alone in the park, daring to make such a request. Was she from a broken family, or had life simply thrown her too many challenges at once? And why him, of all people? A man who had spent years building walls around his heart. The question lingered, heavy and unshakable. As she waited silently, expecting something he wasn't sure he could give, the CEO finally took a deep breath, trying to steady the mix of curiosity and unease swirling inside him. "Why me?" he asked quietly, his voice almost trembling, though he tried to hide it. The little girl shrugged, a small nervous smile tugging at her lips. "Because you look like someone who can pretend to care," she said, her words sharp yet honest. It stung more than he expected. Pretend to care. He realized she had probably met a lot of people who promised attention, but gave only empty words. That as he considered her request. Memories he had long buried started to surface, his own childhood. The father who had been too busy with work to notice him, the dinners eaten alone, the quiet evenings spent wishing for someone to just listen. Suddenly he understood why her plea resonated so deeply. But doubts crept in. Could he, a man used to control and precision, really step into the unpredictable world of a child's heart? Meanwhile, the little girl's mind was racing too. She didn't just need a day of attention, she needed to know someone would show up for her when it mattered. And as the CEO lingered, uncertain, a pair of suspicious adults watching from a distance began to move closer, adding another layer of tension. Something told her that saying yes could change everything, or lead to danger. The stakes were higher than either of them realized. The air around them seemed to tighten as the CEO finally extended a hand, hesitating just long enough for the little girl to wonder if he would pull away. Her small fingers brushed his, holding onto the $50 like a lifeline, a fragile bridge between two worlds. Around them, the park's usual chatter faded into background noise, leaving only the weight of the moment. Every instinct in him screamed caution, yet something deeper a part of him he had long ignored urged him forward. Suddenly, the pair of strangers watching from a distance quickened their pace, their eyes fixed on the girl. She glanced over her shoulder, panic flashing across her face, but before she could react, the CEO stepped protectively in front of her. His suit, once a symbol of wealth and power, now felt like armor shielding someone far more important than himself. Inside, a storm raged. He knew committing to this day meant exposing himself to vulnerability he had carefully avoided his entire life. And yet, as he caught the girl's hopeful gaze, he realized she had already placed her trust in him. But with the strangers closing in and time slipping away, the question loomed larger than ever. Could he protect her? And could he even keep the promise he hadn't fully agreed to yet? The tension hung thick, every second stretching toward a moment that could change everything. Just as the CEO tightened his grip on the girl's hand, a phone buzzed in his pocket, breaking the fragile calm. He glanced at the screen, expecting another routine business alert, but the message made his stomach drop. It was from an unknown number. Asterisk, leave the girl alone, or there will be consequences. His pulse quickened. Whoever was following her wasn't just a random stranger. They knew exactly who he was. The little girl noticed his sudden tension and asked softly, "Who are they?" He hesitated, unsure how much to reveal, but the fear in her eyes mirrored his own. This wasn't just a day of pretending to be a dad anymore. It was becoming real danger, and he had no idea how deep it went. As they moved cautiously through the park, the strangers from before split up, cutting off possible escape routes. The CEO's mind raced. This child had drawn him into something bigger than he ever imagined, and the $50 she had offered now felt like a token for a risk far beyond money. he realized that agreeing to this day wasn't just about bonding. It could expose them both to threats he had never faced. Every choice from here on out carried weight, and with shadows closing in, the tension between safety, trust, and responsibility reached a breaking point. The next move could change everything. The CEO's heart pounded as he scanned the park, searching for an escape, but the strangers had cornered them near the fountain. He knelt beside the little girl, whispering, "Stay close to me. I've got you." The tension was unbearable. One wrong move, and everything could spiral out of control. Just as the strangers stepped closer, a voice rang out sharply, "Back off." From behind the group, a team of uniformed security guards emerged, surprisingly familiar to the CEO. They moved with precision, surrounding the threats in seconds. Relief washed over him, but it was mixed with disbelief. How did they know to come? The little girl's eyes widened as the CEO explained earlier. He had discreetly called his private security, sensing something wasn't right. Her trust had saved them both. With the danger gone, the park grew quiet again. The little girl looked up at him and whispered, "So, will you be my dad today?" He smiled, feeling a warmth he hadn't known in years. "Yes," he said softly. Knowing this was more than a day, it was the start of a bond neither of them expected. But just as they started walking toward the swings, his phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a threat. A single text read, "Asterisk, you're not the only one who can protect her. Watch closely." The smile on the little girl's face faltered, hinting that their journey had only just begun. As the sun dipped lower, casting a warm glow across the park, the little girl and the CEO finally found a quiet bench to sit on. The chaos of the death of strangers, the threats, the fear felt like a distant storm now. She hugged her knees, smiling shyly at him. "Thank you for not walking away," she said. For the first time in years, he felt a connection that had nothing to do with business or money. He realized that being a dad for a day wasn't about grand gestures, it was about presence, attention, and care. They played games, shared stories, and laughed in ways neither of them expected. The $50 she had offered no longer mattered. It had been the courage behind the gesture that changed everything. As they left the park together, the CEO knew his life had shifted in ways he couldn't have imagined. He had learned that true strength wasn't in wealth or power, but in trust, patience, and showing up for someone who needed you. The little girl held his hand tightly, her smile bright and confident, hinting at the adventures still ahead. Though the mysterious message lingered in the back of his mind, one thing was certain: they had found each other, and that bond would shape both their lives forever. A day meant to be borrowed had turned into something timeless.